Well, good afternoon. Look at my hair. Oh man, my hair is a sight to be seen for sure. I need a haircut. That's backwards. Look at that. The more I touch it, the worse it gets. Ah, I used to have a hairbrush, but I don't know. Oh, I still got one. I can brush it backwards. That's weird, man. See what happened? I had my hair was correct, but unfortunately, when I put my headphones on, it smeared everything off to one side. Well, who's going to be the first to pop in here this afternoon? Let me see if any of my sound effects are working. Come on in here. I'll give you a round of applause. Yeah. When you get in here, I'll tell you all about my day today. What kind of day old Mac done had. And it wasn't a good day either. Ugh. I don't know how I can say that. Any day that you're alive is a good day. And we are alive. This this is the old dreaded Wednesday, hump day. So let me add a little bit of
Well, boys and girls, this is approaching the month of the spooky things at night, Halloween. Are you going to be ready for Halloween? I'll be seeing you tonight. That night, not tonight. But don't be coming up in my house all up in here looking for candy. Yeah, we give you a load of buckshot. We'll fill you behind full of rock salt. Yeah, yeah, buddy. It takes it takes two to have a show now. I can do a one man show. I've done quite a few of them. I think we're on the air. It looks like we're broadcasting. Hello, hello, hello. And we do have audio going out. I see that. I don't know how loud it is, but it sounds okay to me. This is the dark side of Old Mac. You know, he's always riding on my shoulder, the dark side. You never know when he's going to come out. Let me see if I can get in touch with my feminine side. Ja, det är det.
Well, now, how about this? Makes me want to rub myself in the most inappropriate way. Ooh, that feels good. Oh, uh-oh. We got us we got us a victim in here. Who would it be? It might Mike Ball. Oh, let me get it back into a human voice.
Hello, Mike. Well, we've been playing with our gadgets today. I know most guys do play with their gadgets when they get a chance, but um, we've been this morning. We started out. Hey, Motorbomb. We started talking this morning, and for no reason at all, my sound quit. So when in doubt, you're supposed to check the fine print out. So I had to pull the manual up for this PlayStation or this soundboard, and right off the bat, it said, "Plug it directly into a USB port. Do not use one of those multi-port devices because sometimes they can't pass the audio or whatever, and the computer doesn't recognize the system." So we unplugged it from the 4-bay USB thing and plugged it in directly to the computer, and we got sound. That started out good this morning, but it just quit. And it said, if you have any kind of issue, unplug it from a multi-port device and plug it directly into a USB. And this computer has got 3.2 and all that stuff. It's got a lot of different ports on it, USB. Oh, and this is, let me see what the name brand of this USB one. This is a good one. Uh, this is, I bought it with a computer. I can't find the model on it. I thought I'd be able to tell you what model it is. Um, I didn't just order it off eBay, but this is supposed to have been a good one, but uh, everything's subject to failure, I guess. This is only for passing audio. The issue doesn't seem to run in video and stuff like that. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter. But if you've got a microphone or something like that, now my other system has a huge amplifier in the computer on the sound card because it's a gamer. This is a gamer too, but the other one's got a, and so I was always having problems of feedback. Hey, Robin, was having feedback, and yeah, this is what it says on the board that I've got. Mine's one of the hater seeker. Well, however you want to say that. P2 is the board I've got, and they specify using a separate USB port. So my other computer is sitting over there in the shop, and so they called me and they said, "We got you fixed. You're ready to go." I haven't went over and get it. I'm gonna go get it tomorrow. But he said, "What had happened on that? Yeah, I told you it's got a big amp in there, and it had switched over to not Logitech, the typical soundboard in most computers. And it had switched over there. Um, well, I just ate lunch, and we had corned beef and cabbage, and after I eat a big belly full of corned beef and cabbage, all I want to do is just lay on the on the couch and fart. You wouldn't want to be riding with me in that little old pickup truck and me be farting going down the road. You go, hell, man, you're about to stifle me. Corn, corned beef and cabbage will produce some heavy duty energy. Yesterday, when I first cooked the corned beef and cabbage, she had made a coleslaw. Now, what have you got? You got cooked cabbage with potatoes and beef in it, and she made a coleslaw made up of raw cabbage. Now, you eat a bait of that raw cabbage and drink a couple of them tall brown bottle of beers. What you call them? 807s. Yeah, you're gonna produce some gas. Well, let me see. We got well, we got enough to make a forum here this afternoon. This is not to take up a lot of time, just as testing the equipment out. And I really enjoyed my conversation with the computer people over there this morning because my system that I took over to them, they recognized it as being a good system. And when you driving a Pinto, when you go up there to the dealership and you want a little work done on it, you just take a number and go sit in a waiting room, and they will eventually get around to come over and see what your problem is. But if you come driving up in, say, a Porsche Cayenne SUV, Porsche Cayenne, um, something nice, they're going to go, "Why, good morning, sir. Let me just get that car and put it in the bay and let's get it started being worked on right now." My whole operation here is a Pinto operation. My channel is like a Pinto, you know. It's tiny, it's small, very unreliable. Oh, it sounded good. Oh, good. I really I needed to hear that, Motorbum. I appreciate it. And once again today, while I was over there, the gentleman was, kind of adding up what all it's going to cost me if they have to put a new soundboard, sound card, and if it needs this, needs that. We was going over some details and everything. And I said to him, I said, Mr. Trump, he has the Bitcoin, and he can buy anything with his Bitcoin. Then I pulled out, I said, I don't care what it's going to cost to get this computer fixed because, and I pulled out one of my old Mac $3 bills. I said, I got plenty more where these come from. Money is no object. And I gave him one. He said, "Can I have two?" I said, "Two?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "My wife, she sees I've got one. She's got to have one. She's a motorcycle rider." And Motorbum, you was mentioned once again. I told him come and get a cup of that monkey coffee on the coffee crew. Yeah, they were really good guys. They're all. Yeah, I've been going over for a number of years. If you ever need anything, you're in Jasper. They are so friendly. You walk in and you can get service done, and highly recommend them. Um, of course, he had a system sitting over there. It had 9 terabytes of hard drive, 9 terabytes, and it had, oh my God, his the sound of the video card was out of this world. He showed me some of the stuff on a 32-inch screen he had there, and my God, and some stuff and do a game he was doing in 4K, and it was just absolutely breathtaking. You could see the steam coming out of the nostrils of the horse that was riding, and some really good stuff. hated to tell him I wasn't gonna come over till tomorrow because we was kinda putting a rush on it because I really wanted to take it back home. I said, "If you plug it in, I'm reasonably assured you're gonna be able to fix it right here on the spot." And, but he had a whole bunch of stuff on the bench and couldn't plug it in for me. And, so I talked to the guy that did the work on it, and I said, "Is it gonna happen again?" He said, "No, it's not likely." He said, and he named off some of the things that happened that would cause it. And then he said, "If you have it again, just give me a call and I can tell you what you can do to get yourself back on track." So, that's good to know. Yeah, every time I get a chance, I do advertise for the group here. And Mike, I got to start including you in it because you're an Alabama boy that you're start to say you stand good on your own 2 feet, but you stand really, really good on 1 foot. You got broad shoulders. It's a high speed. Yeah, yeah, I had a card laying here somewhere. It's high speed. If you just look at there's only and they got a really good assortment of, devices if you need something on the computer, like, they got high-end graphic cards and, just whatever you need, and I found another place too, Mike, you might be interested in. If your wheels on your bike gets, pitted, like your aluminum wheels, the tubeless tires that has the uh, aluminum wheels, and they're notorious. If you ride up north and ride on salt, you're going to get a lot of pitting. There's a place down in Alabaster, Alabama, that does refurbishing of the wheels at about $100 a wheel. And the guy that I met, he wants me to go riding with him. Him and his wife rides a trike, and he had all of his wheels done. He had a spare set. He just took his spare set, put on the trike, and then took that set down there and had them to redo the wheels. It's a whole lot cheaper than going out and buying a new rim. Hey there, Rob's neighbor. Oh, we got another reel to reel. I had a good friend, Paul Harrison, retired Army vet, and he was, you might say, back in the 70s would be like an audiophile. Now, all of us was. Back in them days, we had to have the 16-inch subwoofers, and we had to have rock crushing amps, and we had all of that. Even I had a little Mustang, '88 Mustang GT. That thing had like 600 watts of power inside that Mustang, and not that little factory radio. I'm talking about it had an amp in the back. Fosgate, Fosgate is it? Really a good amp. And boy, that thing would thump. Yeah, I used to like to crank up that danger zone. My girlfriend, a lady I was dating, I went over and picked her up, and I had that thing cranked, and we entered up on the Interstate 5 going into Seattle, and I played that danger zone. Getting in the car up Old Mack was a danger zone back in them days because I was young and virile. I pose no threat to anybody now. Uh, yeah, that was good old days back then when everybody. I had a neighbor give me a problem. What happened between divorces? I got my house took away from me, so I had to end up my daughter and I had to, Cindy, my daughter that lives in Seattle. We had to end up going into an apartment, and so we got into this apartment. I was on the third floor, and this guy just right next to me, he always had music going. You could hear it night and day. And so one day we were fixing to go out, and I had these great big old speakers, and I turned them and put them right against the wall, and I put me some really heavy thumping music. And I went out there and got in the Mustang, and we left, and we left it thump all the time we was gone. Vibrated the house. It had a huge amp. It would when I was down at the bottom floor, I put my hand on the framework and I could feel that boom, 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 boom. Oh, hell. When I got back, I had a note on my door. Mm-mm-mm. But, he turned his radio down. Well, buddy, go and, Robin, you go, get you signed some resumes and, um, you gotta start getting yourself ready for winter. Winter's gonna be approaching you pretty fast. When I got that little at Mustang, there in Seattle, we took off. I did by myself. My daughter was in Oklahoma. She had been down for the summer with my other daughter that lives in Oklahoma, and so I was gonna pick her up in Oklahoma, and then we was gonna go to Orlando, Florida, do some vacationing in Florida. And, man, we, cruised that thing down to the Orlando area, and it had some sound. The exhaust system was thrush well, not thrush, Flowmasters on that Mustang, 5-liter Mustang, and it had some good sound to it, and, boy, that was a lot of fun. We had so doggone much fun. Hey, Steven, I'm happy you guys had a little bit of time to spend with me here, this afternoon. Oh, by the way, the hearing, oh my gosh, the hearing is just it's coming along really good. Um, my ringing in my right ear, well, this ear here, my right ear, my thing is backwards on the screen. My ringing is not as bad as to what it's on the other ear. Hey, 2-4, your winter's coming quick too. But with that surgery they done, they really improved my right ear. I'm hearing fantastic. Yeah, 2-4. You're going to be in for some. Won't. Well, you've got the Atlantic Ocean. It keeps it pretty temperate there compared to Montana. You know. Well, I'm wearing them right directly over my ears, and see, before I wasn't able to put it right over my ear because it hurt so bad. See what happened behind the eardrum? There was liquid, fluid, and the eustachian tube, or what do they call that thing? The tube that goes down in your throat. In age, it had, I guess, fat buildup around it, and it couldn't drain the fluid out. So they had to go in and put a tube in there. Had to surgically go in, plant a tube, and now it's open. The problem being is, man, you got to put cotton in your ear or something when you take a shower because it'll run right down down in your throat. Uh, Yeah, I did have some nice I got some up there on the well, you can't see them here. I got some, but I've got some really good they're Bosch, um, headset, but it don't it's a wireless operation for ham radio, and it would take major change to get it to where you can put them on your head, but they're big earmuffs, covers the whole ear. It was the pain inside my ear, it wasn't the discomfort of the earmuff fitting against my ear. It was the pressure going in from the audio against an eardrum that's impacted. It's behind it. There's so much fluid back there that the eardrum couldn't vibrate, and then it caused tremendous amount of pain and a lot of noise. it was just a horrible noise inside there with all that, uh, pressure. You know, as soon as he popped my eardrum, even in my little video I talked about that he told me, he said, "You're gonna have to sit real still because 'cause you're gonna hear a pop in here and it's gonna make you jerk." Hey, American Uncensored. So when he popped it, almost immediately, there was relief. Then he took that thing and went down inside my head with a suction device in there and pulled all that fluid out, and that wasn't no fun there, but anyhow, the improved sound started in almost immediately. I don't know if any of you folks ever had a bone spur, but I had a bad one in my heel, and, so I go and, like, now he's gonna treat me for the bone spur, and so I'm sitting there, and he said, "I don't know how to tell you this, but," he said, "see this big long needle right here? And it's about a 3/32 in diameter." I went, "Yeah," and it had kinda cut at a beveled angle so it'd go in better. He said, "I gotta put that all the way in from right where your arch of your foot is. I've gotta go in at the front and gotta slide that needle in under that heel there," and he said, "It's gonna hurt so bad." I'm telling you up ahead of time, this is gonna be bad. And I said, "Well, you just gotta do what you gotta do." Oh, hell. But he told me, he said, "As soon as I get in there with that needle, the pain's gonna go away." And, oh, and like he told me, man, it was like, eye-opening. And he got it in there, and I immediately the pain started going away. He wasn't putting Novocaine in, it was something he put back there, and he said, "You won't have that problem." And that's been 10 years ago, so whatever they done, they fixed it. Oh, anytime you have an earache, that's one of them things deep inside your head, and you can't make the pain go away. Toothache is painful, earache is painful, and when you got a ruptured eardrum, the little pieces of skin where the rupture is at, they flutter back and forth, and it causes like static. It's like if you arc an electric wire, uh, but they produce a frequency of sound that's alien-like in nature and rumbling, a lot of rumbling sound. And once they got that all the eardrum, you have to do a skin draft on the eardrum. That's where all the surgical stuff comes in. They have to draft it on your inside of your eardrum, and then they got to put that tube down in there. Yeah, the whole thing is well worth it. I mean, but I would suggest to anybody, unless you have a great threshold for pain, Mike Bow, he could probably do it just sitting there, 'cause he's a gritty guy. But I would suggest if the option is given to you to be put to sleep, by all means, let them put you to sleep. When you wake up, you don't even know anything about it. I stayed awake to save $275 because I wanted a story to tell. I'm a content creator. I'm gonna go through all that pain and agony so I can tell you guys about it. You gotta have a plan, man, to live 85 years, you gotta have a plan. That's the only way I can dig up content. I had to go if I thought I could improve, and get my, hourly rating up there, on YouTube here, I'd have them to remove my brain and just let me hold it in a jar with some wires connected to it. I'm not gonna let Sterling Will outdo me. Ooh, it's so hot today. I'm telling you here, we was in pouring down rain going to Jasper this morning, and she is 86 degrees, 86 degrees, partly cloudy. What's the humidity down there? Oh my god. Oh, look what it says right there. feels like 95, and it is, whew, it will take your breath. So that rain this morning is now like a percolator. It's just boiling over with humidity. Well, hey, we have motion in here. Let me see who else. I think I've already said hello to 2 4. I am really happy this afternoon. And there's sick. Look at it. He's right on up in there. It's I never plan anything up because way you have to live when you're my age is you do it while you can. Because if you plan it for tomorrow, my equipment might not work. You just never know. This has been the month of sound. I went through that period of sounds of silence where I was having a difficult time hearing. And then my board failed. The board didn't fail. It was this 4 bay thing right here. Let me see if I can do this so y'all can see it. That thing right there. That was what that's what that port failed um as far as doing podcasting and stuff, passing audio and video. That's according to what the book says on this Hanner Seek board. Multiport, yeah. The thing is, there was 2 errors. This is a 3.1 USB, but it's got also 2, some 2.20 and stuff like that. But I've got it plugged into a 3.1 USB port on the computer, and that can be a problem itself. I may have to move it over and put it on one of the USB 2 ports. It seems to run the camera good. The camera has not failed once. It's all been audio. My board failed this morning, the sound went away. But I'm not whining or complaining. It's just good being here. Yeah, in fact, I read up on these people's having issue with them. It's like the contact or something like that. Sometimes the material that is used when they manufacture it over the under, it may not be of the same quality. To make 2 of the prongs might be a dissimilar alloy that's not exactly compatible. It's enough to work on some things, but not good for everything. Well, I mean, what can you expect for $9, right? I don't know how much it costs, but yeah, that's right. These cords, some of them, I've got one out there on the Harley that I've been running the GoPro 11, for power, and I began having issues. Come to find out, I see that we was in a rainstorm. I made a video about us being. Well, you saw us in the rainstorm when Keith Fobb and I went to lunch. I began to see like a halo when I'm looking at the screen. I seen like a halo with the sun shining. And when we got up there, there was moisture inside of the GoPro 11. And when it got warm, and with that battery cooking off, running it for 30 minutes on the battery, it made like a mist on the inside the screen. So I took the lens off and I cleaned it really good and put it back on, cleaned that up. But I noticed the little front screen has shadow, it looked like moisture on the inside. So see, I was running in a big rainstorm with that media mod on, and it ain't waterproof. Of course, they tell you it ain't. But when you're out on the road, what the hell are you going to do? I'd have just thought about it in time, I could have unplugged it and put the phone away, but I wasn't that smart. I've told, Angelique, 2 4 about when we was kids, you could go to Birmingham, Alabama. One of the local bakery down here is called Marita Bakery. And when I was a kid in 1949, you could get 10 loaves of bread for $1. See, the reason I have to clarify US dollars, my daddy never made any US dollars. He was only paid in company script. Now, if you had 500 company script dollars, you could trade those in and get 300 American dollars. That's the way it worked. That's the reason they never had anything. So when you had money, yeah, company script, yeah, but that's the way it was. When you had money, you could go to Birmingham. If you went to the commissary, it was $1 a loaf. You go to Birmingham and you could buy 10 loaves for $1 at Buckeyes or any of the big stores over there. And but I remember buying bread, 10 loaves for $1. You could get hamburger, what they call a burger basket, cost you 50 cents. That's burger, fries, and a drink. And then in Birmingham, you had Woolsworth and the Five and Dime store. At Woolsworth, you could get a blue plate special for 58 cents. The blue plate special always had mashed potatoes, gravy, and some kind of a meat and a vegetable. And it was delicious for 58 cents. I don't want to go back to that now because I'm going to tell you, when I was paying that 58 cents for that lunch over at Woolsworth, I was making $26 a week, and that's for 5.5 days. $26 a week working at Buckeyes Groceries in Birmingham over on 8th Avenue. $26 a week. I was a boy that carried your groceries out to your car, and it was like a big box store in its day back in the 40s and 50s and early 60s. It was a big box store where you'd go buy large quantities of stuff. But $26 a week is what I earned. But you got to keep in mind, my daddy went on a strike in 1949 here in Alabama at the coal company, trying to move his wages from $1 per day to $5 per day inside the mines. And the mines refused to budge, and we was out for 2 whole years. Daddy didn't go back to work till 1951. And yeah, I mean, times was different. Um, when I was making $26 a week, I bought a car. I bought a 6-year-old car. It was an Oldsmobile Rocket 88, and it had a V8 engine in it, and it had a carburetor, a Strongberg carburetor that had a flaw in it that it would, when it backfired, it would catch the whole top of the engine on fire. So you spent a lot of time getting out, putting the fire out from under the engine. You see it when it flare up there, you'd see some flames on the edge of the hood, and you had to take your shirt off and beat the fire out. Old Strongberg carburetor, 4-barrel carburetor Strongberg that had a flat top on top of the carburetor. Top of the carburetor was completely covered, flat on the top, and it had a port in the back. The air intake was at the back, and it went into a canister, and you had an oil bath breather system on that old Rocket 88 engine. Boy, that thing ran good. Giving me a Rocket 88 car at that age was like giving a monkey a machine gun. We run the hell out of it. Six sent me a message when I was going live, and I didn't even see it. I was so busy talking, and but he found us anyhow. He was waiting. Oh, I see. Here's what happened. I went up there to start my live, and it said I was going live, but unfortunately, YouTube says, "Unfortunately, unable to go live due to our technical issue. Please try again." So I had to go back and start again, and that's the reason he saw that notification. I thought it was just par for the course for me for something that failed, after I thought I'd give it a test and then my YouTube didn't work. I go, "Oh, man." Well, thank God we made it through the 23rd of September. Remember, the world's coming to an end. And it was, we, oh, yeah, we was pacing the floor there. Uh, so when I went to bed last night, it was just a few minutes to 12. And my little old dog got up from where he was laying, and I heard him walking across the floor, come over and lay beside me. In fact, he's right now laying over beside the bed, right where he was sleeping this morning. And I looked over there, and it was after midnight. It was like 12:02. I go, "Oh, good, we made it." Yeah, he's all curled up over there. When I was driving over the road, I loved that stretch. I could rack up a lot of miles. It was easy running. As long as you wasn't delivering some pole duck town where you was running a lot of little 2-lane roads, but when you was out on the open road, you could make some miles. But the one that was a killer, just about 5:30 or 6 when that sun began, if you're heading east, that sun is looking you in the eye. When I seen that thing start to break over the horizon, I'd find me an off ramp and I'd get over there and close all my curtains and I would sleep to about 7:30, let that sun get up. That old Freightliner had a sun visor out on the front, and that would block that sun pretty good. And I would wait till that sun got up about. I'd pull my curtain open and look, and if I could see the sun glaring into the cab of the truck, I just close it and wait till the sun went up above the roof. And oh, you get some good Z's when you crawled into bed. And there is Toga. I was showing everybody Toga. I'm gonna show it again here. I really loved it. I so appreciate you doing what you did. August 1941, baby Mac, 14 months old. But check out them shoes, man. I mean, that you knew I was bound to be in the army. Got them shiny black shoes. You did such a good job on that. Oh, you're the kind person. I'm the recipient of your great nature. I was watching when I come back from the computer store. I was watching Itchy Boots. She's over in Pakistan, and she's riding up in there, and she went to a village. And this village that she went to, they're non-Muslim. They're kind of like the Hindu, but they're an entirely different religion. Their concept is different, and they're all fair skinned, very light skinned, blue eyed people in this part of Pakistan. Their lineage traces all the way back to Alexander the Great. When he came across the Alps and came through that area, they had entered. Of course, they traveled for years through there, and so the people of that little area, they've been basically isolated in that part of Pakistan because They don't fit in with a normal looking Pakistani, and but they live an entirely different lifestyle. And boy, it was the house that she went to visit was 300 years old, and they were making clothing, and it was beautiful. The work they was doing, and they're the most beautiful people. They're really pretty, energetic. This high up in the mountains there, and they have to be very healthy to live up there. And when they turn the camera and look up the hill, you can see a half a mile upside the hill. There was nothing but houses, just all clay-like buildings, like mud brick and been heated in the sun. But all around them was snow-capped mountains. It was beautiful. She's still in Pakistan. Yeah, that wow, you really done a good job on it. The old car back there in the background, the focal length on that picture, whoever took the picture in 1941, I've tried in many different ways to try to bring out the color in the car to get it, a little bit better looking car, but it's just beyond the focal length of that lens back in those days. And hey, Ben, my buddy right there, give you a big old fist bump right there. Look at them old wore out knuckles. Them knuckles have not been just beat up from pounding stuff, but I used to be a mechanic, and I look at them hands, look at them fingers. God damn, them fingers have been broken. And you can't be a motorcycle racer. You're gonna have scars on your body. You're gonna have things broken. And we worked on cars. Yeah, we did so much stuff. How we went to the Boeing company is we was over in the town of Renton, Washington, on Highway 405, and that'd be 1965, and we saw a sign up there that said Boeing hiring. Hey, good afternoon, Sterling. And we, 4 of us in the car, we went over to Seattle or on the East Marginal Way and looked at the airplanes. And when we come back, they said they're hiring mechanics, and we were real good mechanics. All 4 of us was really good. And we knew our tools and we could do anything. So that was our idea. It said Boeing hiring mechanics. I think, man, being a mechanic at a airplane factory, that's got to be good. So we went over and they, we all went through the process, and then she called us up and they said the company was going to hire us, but we got to take an aptitude test to find out which department we're going to be in. So we had to take a 2-hour aptitude test, and then they called us back up and they said they accepted all 4 of us, but we had to go to school for 6 weeks in Kent to learn to be an aircraft mechanic. I thought, well, that ain't bad. And so we stayed over. Our families was over there in Eastern Washington, and so we went to school. And when we got through, we're all mechanics at the Boeing company with a certificate of being a mechanic. It's called being a sheet metal mechanic. I tell you, you don't even turn a wrench. You're bucking rivets, man. You're you're putting sheet metal together with rivets and clecos, and you don't know what a cleco is, but I know what clecos are, and I wish I had one of them to show them to you, but you can't work on an aircraft without using a cleco. Many different sizes of clecos. KC-135 refueler. That man, that plane's got some really good history. Anyhow, so I ended up my department was what they call pots and pans. I was working upstairs above the heat treat, making avionic racks. We were building on the cockpit on the dash, all these instruments had to fit these modules we made, and we made all the modules that the instruments fit in, pots and pans, they call it. And my brother, Robert, he was right across from me, and he was on the what they call Kruger flaps, were the leading edge flaps. They got rollers on them, and they roll out, and they make the wing appear to be bigger than what it is. That's the leading edge flaps that they have, Kruger flaps. And he worked on those. No, back when when we went to the Boeing company, they had a saying that was quite prominent: 8 for 8 or out the gate. You didn't would They didn't have no time for slackers. And in the old days, they didn't have HR like they got today. In the old days, the supervisor would come up to you. He had to have a reason. If he had a reason, he'd come up to you and he'd say, "Drag up." And the union talk, to drag up means get your shit together and get out. Drag up. And he'd just walk up to you, drag up, just get your stuff and get on out of here. We'll send you a check. Uh, okay, but you take care of what you got to do over there, Toga. Yeah, we had so much fun. Let me see what Mr. Sterling has to say. Uh, that was both of my You remember, I was in the military school, and I didn't learn anything there except how to march and how to take military command and stuff like that. But when my brother was killed, when we came back from the funeral out on the West Coast, he was killed in the army. My family member had a trucking company. He had several trucks, and they were whites. The truck brand was white, and he had a contract for pulling for Alabama Tank Line. And he said, "Would you like to drive for me?" I was 16 years old, and I said, "Sure." And he had to take me out, and we had to go for a few. I had to go to Port and learn how to get the different grades of fuel, and so then he finally cut me loose, and that was really fun. But um, then they shut the port down over there, and I didn't want to sit around and wait for a few months till the port opened back up. So I went back out west and stayed out there till I think I just turned 17. I came back and then I went to Maryland at the age of 17, and the family had bought a farm in Winfield, and they wanted me to come back. I helped them to get that farm started, but I wanted to get in the army. I've been being trained to be in the military, but my mother begged me not to be in the army, so I joined the National Guard. Leaving, that would be, that would satisfy my urge to be in uniform, and it would please her that I wasn't in the army. But they sent me off for 6 months. Uh, the program I joined up, the only one I could get into was a 2-year program through the National Guard. You got to serve 6 months uh, in the army, and get your MOS, and there's a whole bunch of crap. That was back in the 50s, and so as soon as I got cut loose from there, then I moved into the area from being a truck driver to being a cowboy. Oh, because I knew I was a cowboy because I bought me a Stetson and boots. I had them shit kickers on there, so well, I had to get the big belt buckle, and already had an attitude, so being a cowboy would just come natural. So shit. We so we did our cowboy thing, and then, of course, in the Army, I had got a little bit of, time with heavy equipment. I drove some we were in engineer supply, so I had to load a lot of equipment onto rail cars, and so I knew how to drive a tank. I knew how well, anything that had a diesel engine, and I could do all of that kind of stuff. So we hired on driving Caterpillar tractors, ripping the land open in San Joaquin Valley, and, for a Spreckle Sugar Company. They had to have these big holding ponds. Each holding pond was 1,800 acres, and what you do is you take sugar beets and you pulverize them, and then you put them in a centrifuge, and you inject lime, and the lime extracts sugar particles, sugar molecules from the pulp, and then you run it through a separator, a big old long diagonally tubed heater thing, and it spins not as fast as a centrifuge, but it's heated, and then it separates the lime from the sugar, and then that lime goes out into a holding pond, and it evaporates the water, and then they reuse that up to 3 times. That active lime is good for about 3 cycles, and then of course you got to discard all that waste. But we had these 1,800 acre holding ponds. The company had 3 of them out there, and we had to maintain the levees, and they're just earthen levees. So you was always getting breaches and washing out, and oh, we had so much fun with the driving the Caterpillar tractor, and of course then the opportunity had come to go back driving again. And we drove up and down the West Coast, the old 99 highway and the Golden State Highway, and eventually we made it all the way to Yakima, Washington while driving. And we got over there in Yakima, and this guy said, we got to talking to a fella. He said he's going to go to work for a fella hauling lumber. And so we hired on with this company hauling lumber from Boise, Idaho to Mesa, Washington, back and forth, hauling loads of uh, finished lumber right out of the kiln. And that was a whole lot of fun. So we're sitting at the scale house over there in Pasco, Washington. Honey, bring me my cold water. Bring my cold water. We were sitting at the scale house over there in Pasco on Highway 395 going north out of Pasco, and waiting for the scale master to come to open the scale house up so we could weigh. Now we were at this time, we wasn't hauling lumber, we was hauling potatoes, and the potatoes were coming from Dayton, Washington. Dayton is over in the Blue Mountains over there by Walla Walla, just overlooking Idaho and the Snake River Canyon and all that stuff. So we had these trucks. We had the tractor had a 32-foot bed on it, tandem axle tractor, and the putt was 24 foot, whatever it was. We was legal, 70 feet legal, whatever it was, and hauling out of the fields over there. The potato digger couldn't tell the difference between a rock and a potato. If it didn't go through the grate, it was the same as a potato. And so the reason the scales was closed, he had loaded up a bunch of truck drivers and put them under arrest and took them down there so they could have to go down and sign a bond to get out and all that stuff. And we knew we'd be arrested as soon as he got back. Well, we had to sit there and wait. And sure enough, come back there, and he says, I can only do 10 trucks. So here's where the cutoff line. Everybody else behind, go ahead and leave. Well, I was one of them. I pulled across the scales up there in Connell, Washington. On my tractor, I had 68,000 pounds on the tractor. 68,000. And that guy's eyes bulged out because I had more rocks than I had potatoes. But then while we're sitting there at the scale house, I digress a little bit. It's an age thing. While I was sitting there, I saw this weird looking airplane, and everybody was looking at it. And this one guy was talking more about it, like he knew something about it. So I asked him, I said, "What is that?" And he said, "That's a Boeing plane." I go, "I've never seen anything like it. Where's the engines were on the tail. I've never saw this before. Every engine I ever saw was up on the wing." And, he said, "You ought to see that thing take off. It goes straight up when it leaves out, them engines on the back there makes it just shoot right up off the runway." I go, "I gotta see that." I said, "Where did it do all this?" He said, "You gotta go over to Renton." So that this takes me back to when we went to Renton, we still saw the sign on the Sheraton Hotel up there, "Mechanics wanted, hire in today. Perks and benefits, and Lord, your life will never be the same. Come work for Boeing Aerospace." So we uh we finally hired on, and as you can see, we're still sitting right here. I'm looking at the wall full of airplane pictures, and it's going to delight me, Sterling, for us to sit and talk about. You got to just you just got a wide range of subjects to talk about. Um, it never would be boring, I assure you of that. Then I spent 30 years there, made a lot of good friends. You know what's sad about it? Most of them's passed on. I'm not bullshitting you. One of my best friends, me and him worked together in the same building for 25 years. I buried him. I was the executor to his estate, and I buried him right along beside of his daddy. That's one of the negative things about living so damn long. You have to put away your friends, and that ain't. It don't get easier either. I'm gonna tell you. But I tell you what does come easier when you're young and you lose a friend. You can suppress your tears and kind of handle it, and move on. But as you get older, the tears comes more easily. It's one of the things that comes with age. It's a good thing being living a long time, and I love my life. God damn it, negative shit that just drives you crazy. Just you never know who's going to go next. That's I got cousins. They delight in calling me. They go, "Well, Tim's gone." I go, "Oh." And my sister Joyce, "Well, I guess you heard about Aunt Clara, didn't you?" I go, "Yeah, every phone call." Well, I think one time, Moto, you was we were on live. We was operating live, and a friend called me on the phone. He had to tell me about one of our ham friends dying. A good friend. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." There's no easy way of breaking it. Oh, I don't mean that. This is Wednesday. It's a time to celebrate and having a good afternoon. But I just happened to touch up on it because life is big, and in that bigness, there's sorrow, happiness. I try to cling on to the happiness. We have a lot of happiness in our life. Oh, no, not necessarily have to feel for me. Feel sorry for those it affects even more. I'm not of the disposition of it's not going to break my spirit. There are some people, just one more death in the family is all it's going to take for them to just lose it. And I'm not to that point, but I feel sorry for those that don't have the capability of handling that kind of stress. I was blessed in many ways, and that was one of them. It's not a it's not a good portion of your life, but it's just one of the things that is in life. When my friend in Minnesota, He lives in Ivanhoe, Minnesota. He's 104 years of age. He's a ham radio operator. We were operating on the radio together, and he told me about his brother was sick and he's going to go see him. His brother was already, see, at the time when he went down there, he was only 101 years of age to the hospital. And his brother was older, and they'd already said he wasn't going to make it through the day. And he went in and talked to his brother, and his brother said, "This is just the life cycle, no more, no less." And he shared that with me. Just accept that it's a life cycle. Can't get around it. No use avoiding it. Don't even avoid the subject because it's a reality. And and that kind of helped me when this gentleman lived to be 104 years of age and was on the air at 104. We have another friend, and Moto and Sick have met him on the air. He's Adelard from um, Val-d'Or, Quebec. What a wonderful gentleman. He's 96 years of age, and him and his wife are doing well. I wrote him a song about heaven and the mansion that is awaiting him, and he loved it. I mean, and here's the thing is, I got so many text messages come in. They go, "Oh my God, when did he pass on?" I go, "Look at the song and listen to the words. It didn't say he's gone. This. My father has prepared a mansion for you." And that, and I said, "No, he ain't gone. He's still with us." He said, "Oh, thank God." He said, "That's the best news I've had today." So, and the song he thought I was writing a song like a memoriam for our friend that is gone now. Well, he's not gone. He's still here. And the family loved it. He shared it. He's got a lot of family goes all the way back to France, and they shared it all over there, and they understood what it was about, because they've lived to be they're good human beings. He sent me garlic down here from Val-d'Or, Quebec, and I grew garlic here and I shared it with so many people. And what I sent him in return, I grew habaneros down here, which will not grow up there in Val-d'Or. So you may be indoor or maybe in some kind of a enclosure or whatever. But I sent him dried habaneros, double sealed in a hermetically sealed bag and all that stuff. And he said when he opened that bag, him and his wife were so anxious to see it. When he popped open that bag, that puff of capsaicin come poofing up out of that bag and knocked both of them backwards. And I told him, I said, if you touch any one of them, wash your hands. And she sent me a text. His wife did, Margaret. She sent me a text that she put one of my habaneros in her Brunswick stew, and the whole family loved it. It's very potent stuff. Now, I made Angelique chicken yesterday. Sterling, you probably would have liked this too. I made her chicken yesterday. She wanted, she wanted a chicken, the kind that's hot. I don't remember what it's called. You get them over at Walmart, they're like big size chicken nuggets of solid white meat inside. What I did is I did all the seasoning on the chicken, then I rolled them in flour, and then I baked them in the oven for 15 minutes till the coating dried up on the chicken, and then I did the barbecue thing, and then finished cooking them. And here is the you talking about hot now. That's got that. Let me get up here so you can see it. That has ghost peppers in it. The season I put honey and ghost pepper, salsa, three different spices in the ghost pepper, and I put the honey in it, and yeah, it turned out. Ooh, oh my gosh, that was so damn good. That's coleslaw right here, and tater tots. That's a That's what old folks eat. Oh, neat, neat. I enjoyed your stuff, Carrie. Yesterday, I watched the video of Steven Seagal and that whole mismatch thing there, and that was so funny. I mean, you know my feelings about him, and I expressed that, but that movie just brightened my day. I ain't kidding you. It don't take much to make me happy. I ain't kidding you. I just well, Sterling. Well, I don't even know what that is. Has y'all got something going on that I need to make a donation to? Somewhat, I'll read it over. Y'all can probably see it. Has anyone dropped a super chat? Wouldn't even know what that is. Is it some of are they doing something for a was that for the Forgotten Angels? Oh, they wouldn't be that little of money, I'm sure. Oh, I don't know. Maybe you might explain what a super chat is. I don't think I've ever seen that term. That's coming up, in October, and I see everybody making their plans. I wish I could commit myself to a plan. Um, I just hard find myself hard to commit myself to a plan that long range. My sister was gonna get a place, but, I don't think I don't know how that's turning out. She is getting a place, but I don't know. Would have to check with her. But I would probably just find me a place to stay, a motel or something down there. You have some interesting people, Carrie, on your show. Rob's neighbor, he's an interesting guy. That whole layout you got there, you just take your camera, look out the door, and see a big truck go by. And you're doing the things that we did as youngsters. My brother and we like motocrossing. I entered two bikes on a 24-hour endurance race in Austin, Texas, 1970. I had a Montesa that I rode, and I bought a brand new Honda 350 Scrambler, whatever. It was supposed to have been a hot dog rig for that period of time, 1970. And it had dual overhead cam and all that kind of stuff. It couldn't compare to even though it was a 350, a 250 two stroker would eat that thing up. But that Montesa now, it was no slouch. We used to run Blenzoil in that when we mixed oil up and everything. And the guy come over and said, "Are you running Blenzoil?" I go, "Yeah." He said, "I need to get a whiff of that." He took his hand and expanded it so he could get a little sniff of had a little 6-inch stinger on the back of that Montesa expansion chamber, and he like he was a connoisseur of exhaust. We be exhausted. Oh, are you gonna race over there at that Barber's Motor Speedway? Barber's over there in Irondale. We'd have to make a point to get down there to see that. She just brought me a bottle of cold water. Whoo, you talking about good. And then let's see, was it getting hotter? Well, it's holding 84. What does it feel like? 91. Yeah. It ain't letting up yet. It's like a percolator. Yeah, I bought that Montesa up in Wichita, Kansas. I bought it new over there, and they took it out of the crate, and when they opened it up, it had a spare cylinder and piston. Seemed like it's reed valve, whatever. It had a top end, or no, a top end. I guess there's no top end. It had a barrel and a piston, and when I sold that bike, I sold it to a guy that lived in San Antonio, Texas, and he couldn't believe I still had the the cylinder and everything is still wrapped up in the way it was shipped from the factory from somewhere in Spain. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. We'll have to get some, descriptions, and we'll ride over there. We'll just I maybe I get my buddy to ride over there with we'll ride the old Harley over there, and that's about 40 miles from here, 50, not too far over there. I helped build that whole racetrack system over there when I was driving. The people when they was building the contractors building that racetrack over there, they had to put down like a rubber base foundation for the water. There's a lot of springs over in that area, so the water wouldn't be coming up in the asphalt. And that thing is built really good. I mean, it's built with high level of standards, more than a highway. It's got the right angles to each of the curves, got the right slope for water runoff, and they went all out. And when you get over there, I don't know if you've been there before, but they got these creatures all up in this park-like area, big old piss ants, big metal sculptured piss ants, and all kinds of stuff. That it's a it's a premium place to go. I mean, I'm really proud of the state of Alabama that has things like this, so easy to get in and out of, and look at Talladega sitting over there. You could back in the day, back in the '70s, you could have 200,000 people in a weekend over there. 200 plus thousand out there in the campground. I was over there when I was with a company, and they had a strict drug policy. And I went into a tent where all these guys that we knew, racers, that I was at the time we was associated with the Micro Waltrip Corporation, the '55 Napa car, or uh, they had our company developed this thing called the water jet. The Boeing company, 3 engineers, and they formed their own company, and eventually they sold Micro Waltrip the idea of doing water jet, cutting your own spindles and stuff out, and, it's a priceless tool when it comes to racing a car because you're if you have a least bit of a wreck, you're gonna bend your spindles or bend your A-frames, all kinds of stuff that you can make with this water jet so quick, and you could make parts for other people as well. And, yeah, we went into the hospitality tent over there, the number 55 car, the Napa car. Oh, old Mac done come out of there all stoned and everything. He was, I could do a pretty good impression of sick when I walked out of the tent. The way they used to do, they would take little cuts of your hair, and when they tested you for drugs, and your hair absorbs, I think it keeps, marijuana for like 30 days in your hair. You might clean your urine up there, but the hair is gonna be a giveaway. Hey, brown chicken. Hell, hell, the gang's all here. Oh, yeah, we got, Motorbomb in here, Six been in here, Sterling Wheel, Rob's neighbor, of course, he's here now. We've had a lot of the old coffee crew, and I've been advertising, um, yesterday oh, no, today, when I was over there, I passed out some of my Mac dollar bills to the owner of the computer shop, and, of course, I had to give a little plug for the coffee crew, and, they're gonna look them up. They when they're not working over there, they have free time to watch the monitors and stuff. The old air is humming away over there. Well, for an afternoon, I don't know, maybe there might be a show gonna be started at 4. I think, Salty Badger, he may have an afternoon show. I have caught it in the past. I'll keep it running to 4 o'clock, and that way everybody will have a chance, to go and catch their favorite shows and stuff, and we won't hold anybody up. But I thought, well, I really was feeling good because they told me my computer, um, was good to go, and I'm using this is this computer I'm using now. That's the one I bought from the place that's repairing my new one. My new one's only 7 months old, and it's already had a failure, but it was a sound card issue, and they was able to resolve it. Folks, we're gonna have a storm here. She's a thundering and the lightning. Oh man, is it dark out there. Ugh. Oh, I haven't been on the board good enough. I should have gave when brown chicken came out, I should have gave him a yeah. And that's let me see, Rob's neighbor. Yeah. Motor bomb. Yeah, we had a whole bunch of folks in here this afternoon, and I am so happy that y'all took the time to spend a little time with me. And if you got any questions, that's what's good about being on Motorbomb Show. They can ask you a direct question right to you, and they can get the answer without all that typing on my little live here. I can't keyboards over there, but I have to reach past the camera because I got the camera setting up here. It's just more inconvenient. And when I do my live show, you guys got to do all the work, all the typing and stuff. And I really appreciate the time you're taking out of your life to spend with me. Yeah, I think we all got to get back to, you know, chatting amongst ourselves. I think that's what keeps us civilized is knowing that there's other fellow human beings out there that share some of the same principles and values. You don't have to agree with me on anything, but it's nice running across a bunch of people that seem to be mainstay folks. You got a good even plot through life. You're not so radicalized about anything. Just I'm radicalized on life itself. Just putting one foot in front of the other. Yeah, my little dog laying over there. I see his little eyes peeping out from over there. I know what I feed him every day about this time. I break out his bowl and I got little doggy treats I give him like little mid morning snacks and if I don't feed him now, I mean he's not shy. He'll come right over here and if I don't look down at him, he will bark at me. Just a little bark, let me know. He usually grunts at me. And if I make eye contact with him, you can see it in his eyes. He's ready for that bowl to be broke out. 2-4, you're my main guy I go to when I want somebody to make me feel good. I tune in 2-4. He gonna say the right word. Whoa, listen to that, buddy. Oh man, there's a big old. Wow, listen to that. It's raising hell out there. Oh, I want to see what the weather is. I might be having a tornado right on my back door, not even know it. Let me see what it says here. Ooh, yeah, thunderstorm, low showers in the vicinity. Yeah, I see it's going to rage on till 6 o'clock. Yeah, and then temperature is going to start dropping, and then it's going to kick back up. Oh, this is going to be some motorbomb weather right here at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 8, 9, and 10. She's going to rain and a high probability of rain. Thunderstorms. Woo. Yep. This storm right now is approaching now, is right up on us. And it's according to the Doppler radar, it's over there on 91 highway just right now. I'm looking right at it. Let me see if I can bring it up so you guys can see it. Um, let me see if I can move it. Oh, I can't. See that little green looking dot right there? That's me right there. And you can see what's right on top of me right there. See there's a little town of Warrior down, but this little dot right here, that's me. Hell, it's coming, buddy. It's a biggie. I don't see no hook echo. There's a hook right over to the left. Look, you know how to read these things. There's a hook. I don't know how to get over there. I have to reach all the way across. There's the hook echo right there. See that hook right there? That's what they call the hook echo. That comes around. So they are a potential tornado just right over there at Sipsey. Last time there was a tornado over at 60. Mississippi. Already 68 people had died. It had came through Cordova and Sipsey, and it started raining bodies out on the road. So we can Mike Ball can tell you we can have storms in Alabama. Yeah, we go up to the bar and have a drink and everything, be bragging about how big our storm is. I mean, other places they'd be talking about how big their manhood is, but ours is all about how big the storm is, man. We got some big storms. Our storms are bigger than yours. But I saw Motorbomb's weather outlook, and his and didn't look very good either. Sick bastard, go, buddy. Go get the woman, and y'all just have a really good evening. I want to thank you very much for coming over and join me. Oh yeah, come on now, American Uncensored. Don't ever try to get up on the Alabama storm because we got you covered in that department. Hell, ours the biggest damn storm. Ain't nobody ever seen a storm as big as we have in Alabama. Our storms in Alabama are mean. They'll double around and come back and get you for a second time. Oh yeah, they'll come right in your storm cellar and just drag you right out. I had a friend. He lives right over here, less than a quarter mile from me. He ran to the storm cellar. He was as happy as a pig in mud because he beat an EF4 tornado that was at his back door. He jumps in in the ground storm pit. First thing happened is a suction pulled his door off his storm pit. Well, I mean, it just ripped it right off. Now the roof is sticking up out of the ground, but the rest of the building is in the ground. Then it pulled his storm pit up out of the ground and dropped it down at a 45-degree angle. The door is sitting at an angle now, and he's looking out there. Boy, it was that the big stuff ain't got there yet. That was just a kind of like a precursor to the storm. And so he had 2 or 3 family members in it, and they was all around the corner trying to stay out of that tremendous wind. So he goes back to the door for one more look, and when he looked out there, what he saw coming at him was a 455 cubic inch Pontiac V8 engine flying through the air. It came through the door. This is a concrete in the ground storm cellar. The V8 engine hit the one wall, caved it in, and came in and caught him in the chest and shoulder, broke both collarbones, both sides, and all the ribs in his chest, and bounced off of him down onto the floor. They had to come with a helicopter to take him out of there. He was in bad shape. So, man, don't ever try and think you can have a storm bad. Alabama's got some of the baddest storms they are, man. I mean, ours has been certified as being mean. They like a junkyard bulldog, man. Our tornadoes don't know when to let you go. My cousin house, 3 bedroom, not 3 bedroom, 3-story brick home, sitting over there where the guy that got sucked up out of the ground. Her house, she ran down and got down in the basement and got in the bathroom in the basement, and it sucked the whole house up away from the foundation and everything. And it took it over to the top of my house and took it 2 miles over to County Road 35 and deposited her house over a 2 or 3 mile stretch. All the sheet metal and all the grass in the lawn was pulled up off the ground. They had came in a year or so earlier and put down one of those sod lawns and just peeled it, just took it right with it. So, and we got pictures to prove it. We made a CD of it. So we went over, and when I got over to her house, she was sitting in the foundation of the house, blood all running down her arm and stuff. She got hit in the head with a brick, and her mother was sitting there beside of her, and everything else is gone. And they were just so calm, they wasn't like "Oh, man, that was a bad one." They they was in shock. Yeah, that was truly I was telling somebody the other day, you remember that Firebird, that Burt Reynolds, that beautiful the eagle on it on that stuff? Well, my sister and her husband was having some family issues, and so he decided they would get a divorce. He leaves her and went to California and bought, one of those brand new Trans Ams with the eagle on the hood and come driving back up, had to show, his ex-wife, my sister, that he's landed on his feet, and he brought a little pretty California girl with him. Yeah, a young California girl, and he had the 455. He had the big block, Pontiac. It had the hood scoops and all that stuff on it, but, yeah, I always like to bring that up to my sister every time I see her about, her husband leaving her and went and got it. For the first time in his life, he finally got him something that would, look good and run. She's still sensitive. Yeah, on the hood, his was a black with a gold. It had that whole Burt Reynolds look about it, and, he's gone now too, but that's the only reason I talk about it now is because that was then and this is now. Hey, Salty. And Robert, hey, Robert, I was busy talking and I didn't see you when you appeared over there, but thank you very much for coming and joining us. Well, you get caught up in storytelling, and next thing you know, you look over and your comments is moving right along. I was interested in your distillation when I came up. My father was a moonshiner. He was a coal miner, and he used to make all of his whiskey inside of a coal mine. So when my daddy was on a strike trying to move his wages from $1 a day to $5 a day, he couldn't get a job because the company strike shut him out. And he made whiskey inside the coal mines. Me and my brother Gene, we used to pack sugar in there and wheat and whey. And wheat is bags of wheat. They would use that for when they put up their brew, the beer. They'd take sacks of it. His The pot he had up in the mines in our backyard was about 300 gallons. It was a rectangular shape, and he had 2 burners on it, gasoline-fired burners. It had a pump, and he had this tank with gasoline. They had to keep the pump. My brother and I both we'd watch the gauge, and we'd go over and pump the pump up, make sure we kept the burners burning. When you start cooking the mash there, you gotta make sure you got good steady heat. And you gotta have a good thumper keg set up. We used a big thumper. The thumper is where the steam comes out, as you know, and it goes boom, 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 boom. Well, the idea of that is if there's any puking, if you boil off some of your brew or your beer or your mash, that drum catches any puking, so it don't get into your whiskey, and then that steam goes in through your condenser and, um oh, but you know about the thumping. My daddy made all his, caps. He would make up dough and he'd have cloth, and he would put that, flour and stuff, and he mixed up his paste, and then he set the cap on, and that heat from that, of course, would dry that where it would and then that wood would swell up in the bung hole, and that made it so tight. Every once in a while, if you saw it and when we walked by, and if you saw any steam coming out around the peg, you would take a matchstick and put it in your mouth and chew it really good, and then you'd push it down in that wherever it's steaming, and then it would swell up, and that plugged the hole up. Uh, we all we all had a part to play in it. Yeah, the thumper is a interesting an interesting stage of it. Now, we had a gasoline pump up there. We pumped water over the condenser. You had to your mines in Alabama are all wet, and so you had plenty of alum water, not drinkable water, but plenty of water for coolant. And so he'd have his condenser. His condenser was many layers of coiled copper that he'd flow water over it. And my job was to make sure that the water stayed on the condenser and stuff. And when he started his run, it had to run continuously. I mean, and you was talking about doubling and singling and double backing and stuff like that. All them terms we had when we was kids, we knew about the first run, and you could double back on it and split the alcohol content, and you'd finally get it where it would be drinkable. Because when you distill it, 200 proof, that's I mean that's just alcohol. I mean that's really it, that was technical stuff my daddy did. We was little old kids. I was 12 years old, so I could in those days I could carry 100 pounds of sugar. Um, yeah, that's 100%, 200 proof. If you get what is that stuff we used to get, Everclear? That's 190 proof, and that's damn near pure stuff. And what we used to do is I would take a jar of maraschino cherries, and you might try this sometimes with one of your first runs. We'd take and pour all that syrup out of the cherries, and then fill the little jar back up. You know that little jar of the cherries you can buy. They're beautiful, sweet cherries, maraschino cherries. And then you put that Everclear or your first run on your whiskey there on that cherries, and then you have guests come in and they'd want a cocktail with something like a lady. And fix her a drink with a cherry on it. And she suck on this drink, and then, but at the last minute, she had taken popped that cherry in her mouth and bite down on it, and it's like her little head would light up, and then she'd get real talkative, and then she'd cry a little bit, and then she'd talk some more. Then she'd take her clothes off and party, party, party. Shit, the party was just getting started. You pop a cherry, man. I mean, that back in them days, you bust a cherry there in that drink, and you was at a party. It's a really good party thing to do. Women love them drinks with cherries in them, and I've had guys open that jar and be plucking, just chumping down on them, and yeah, yeah, all those things you was talking about. It was such beautiful memories from 1940, 1952. Oh yeah, all the way up to 52. Of making moonshine right here in Jefferson County, Alabama. Yeah, those are some pretty tight days. We had 2 sheriff Jefferson County had 2 sheriffs, Sam Lynn and Howard Houghton was the 2 sheriffs, and they were the sheriff of the people. They knew that they were serving the people of that area, and they knew there was little babies going hungry and malnourished and malnutrition and stuff like that. So they really worked with the people, and when they was making moonshine, if the federal agents was coming down, they would come out and warn your family to break your steel down and move it or take your equipment out of there before they get there. And so that was good to have them. We had them for a while, and in 1952, they were both murdered, both sheriffs up in the town of Alden, Alabama, over a poker game. So we lost really 2 really good sheriffs that was the sheriff for the people. Making whiskey back in the days would get you a year and a day. You'd spend your time in Kilby. It was like a status symbol in our family if you got to do a year and a day. You go, "Yeah, I done my year and a day." Yeah. No, I I was out of the game by the time I was 12 years of age, so I never got to do my year and a day. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what it is today. I think you're legal to make so much, but back in the days, it was really they took it serious, and but people, now is, hey, things have changed up. I don't know what the law I wouldn't even attempt to quote the law about, uh, oh, watermelon wine. Oh, yeah, that's about my dog. There's a song about his old mule and his dog and watermelon wine. I love that song. I already find it and play it for Angelique. Watermelon wine. And another song about wine I really liked was Summer Wine. Summer Wine, Nancy Sinatra and, Lee Hazelwood. Look up Summer Wine. This old cowboy, man, he done he was been out there on the range for a long time. He comes into town, he meets this really pretty girl, and she invited him to have a sip of her summer wine. And when he woke up, all only thing he had in his money he had was a dollar and a dime, and it was gone. She done rolled him summer wine. Yeah, Tom T. Hall, I liked anything he had some good stuff. But that one hit, it was a one Frank Sinatra, I mean, not Frank, I'm sorry, Nancy Sinatra and Lee Hazelwood did that one hit, and it was a hit. Um, 'Cause it reminded me all cowboys that, you dream about getting into town. Now, you ain't just wanting to get into town. Sometimes you wanna get into town and maybe go to a picture show. That's what we called them back in the day, a picture show. Or you wanna drink something. I know you wanna drink when you get into town. You wanna get some food that's not hadn't been on the range with you, I mean, some old stuff that's been dried over there for a long time, and you'll eat almost anything out there on the range, but when you come into town, you want a little pleasure in life, and ain't nothing can give you more pleasure than a woman, I can tell you that, especially when you've been out on the range for a long time. And her lips was gonna taste like strawberry wine. It don't take much, I mean, a woman can talk you into anything. At least I was weak and they could talk me into anything. Yeah, old picture show, yeah, one time I was working at a big ranch up in Colorado, in Walden, Colorado, and the boss, his name was Delmer Johnson. He come to me and he said, "Got a job for you to do, boy." I worked for him for 2 years, he said. I said, "What do you need, Delmer?" He said, "I want you to take my daughter to the movies." I go, "What?" Younger than I was, but not that young. She was 16 or 17 years of age, and I was maybe 20. So, he said, "You can take the family car." She wanted to go see Shane, I believe it was, and it was in Laramie, Wyoming, and that was about a 100-mile drive up to Laramie from Walden, 80, 90 miles one way. And he said, "I won't give you enough money to buy a good supper." I go, "Well, that's really good." Ooh, man. Oh my God. It's like turning a fox loose in a hen house, right? She was a pretty woman. She used to come a ride and see me on a horse. I would be way out somewhere on the range, and I look over and I see a horse coming, and I didn't have any binoculars, and so I would just keep working because I don't know who it is, and then finally they get up closer, and I glance over there, and she'd be coming out there, and she'd be coming from the big main house bringing a lunch, picnic lunch, and, yeah, that was really good. Chicken and all that stuff. chicken and all the trimmings. Uh, well, one time I talked her into getting in this pond with me to swim, and she said, I talked her into it. So we laid all the clothes over there so they wouldn't be messed up. So we get in the pond, and and now we're enjoying the water. It's cold, just right off of Rabbit Ears Pass there by Steamboat Springs. The water is really cold. We was at 7,000 feet, and oh, it's almost breathtaking. And so as we got a little more accustomed to the water and everything, uh, we looked across the valley, and they were standing on the front porch over there with binoculars. We could see the light reflecting off the lens. They was watching us. The family was. So I had to get myself in position so she could get over there and slide over and get back in her clothes. Uh, Lucy, I had a lot of explaining to do. Delmer was a big old Swedish guy. He's like 6'4", big old Swedish guy, and I was a little old skinny redneck. Uh, Probably dried up about like Frogzilla, you know. Well, I was scrappy when I was a young guy, but uh, it all turned out good. Life is a wonder. Well, it's just ramblings of an old man. Y'all say something that triggers a little memory up in there, and I'll start rambling along about it. Um, there was a lot of really, you learn all this stuff when you're young. Everything is a new experience. Everything is, you know, um, I was never shy about anything. So um, it was interesting. I got to say that. I really like working for him too. In fact, I liked it so much. I talked my brother into coming and joining us, and he brought my cousin. My brother and my cousin showed up, and we worked the season up there all the way to snowfall. And that's back during our cowboy days. And the cousin was a fighting cousin. He liked fighting more than he did anything. And there was a bunch of cowboys on the ranch. Now they was wrangling the cows, and we were doing all the maintenance on the machinery and all stuff like that. But we were cowboys. We had horses, and we could tell there was a storm or brewing. My cousin had already singled out the big mouth cowboy. He singled him out at the dining table, and I knew that there's going to be a throwdown, and there was. He played football for the University of Alabama, so he's a big old boy. He's a big old Alabama guy, and my cousin, and my the boss Delmer, he saw this thing was working out, so he says to us at the dinner table, he said, "I got to keep my crew happy. If there's any kind of animosities going on here, we're going to solve it today." He said, "I want you guys to come down here." God damn, that's a loud one there. Storms up on us. Said, "I want you to come down to there's a big old warehouse place." So we got down there, and he went over and dug out a pair of boxing gloves. He said, "This is how we settle it with the cowboys." He said, "You get in there and fight till the other one can't stand up." Old James, my cousin, he gets in there, and James, I'm telling you, he was a scrapper. He beat that damn cowboy up. I mean, he beat the shit out of it. Well, he ain't gonna hurt. I mean, Delmer he ain't gonna let you hurt nobody. But he whipped him down to the ground, and uh, and it turned out he ended up being a really nice guy. He just had to be put in his place. I mean, I think he had a hatefulness towards Southern people, I think it was a Civil War issue, even though it'd been almost 100 years ago, whatever. There's some of that animosity still, they didn't like that Johnny Rib stuff, that rebel stuff, and we didn't go around spouting rebel stuff either, but we had accents that made us sound like rebels. And him being a cowboy, they saw themselves as being red, white, and blue American, and we were rednecks, probably rebels, rebel rousers. And but anyhow, it was beautiful. And we got to see it. We got to see the throwdown. Oh, being raised in the South, I was born and raised right here in Alabama. I lived here till I was 18 years of age, and all my school years was all from the segregated days. No integration at that time. That was just the way the law was. Um, yeah, we lived under that environment. But I was really big into history, and I read a lot about other wars. And they're going to be animosity for quite a while. Well, this has lasted for a long time. But you still have some of that going on today, on both sides. But I think it's time to cut that kind of crap loose, and let's just try to live out our life. I believe that black guy that out there in California, whatever his name was, he said, "Why can't we just all get along?" I'm in favor of that. Let's find some way of being neighbors to one another. As I traveled, I run across people, and people say, "Oh, New York City." Well, I found some of the nicest people that lives up in northern portion of New York. They're just like home folks. I found great people in Colorado. I found people in Washington State. Texans, you always hear about them big ass, badass Texans, out there in the land of steers and queers. Well, I found some of the best, nicest people. I lived in San Antonio, Texas. I met a lot of really good people. I lived in Wichita. I lived in Sedalia, Missouri for a year. I run across good people everywhere, and all colors. I mean, American Indians. I married an American Indian. I mean, she was a full blood. I mean, her daddy was full blooded, and she was half Cherokee. My son Donald and Cindy are both little Cherokees. They don't go around spouting nothing. They ain't asking for nothing. They don't. They pull their own weight. They pay their own way. They've sent themselves to schools, and they're doing well. They don't lean on none of that stuff, but they love their heritage. And I'm in favor of anybody encourage, like today watching Itchy Boots when she found these people that live in Pakistan that are entirely different than anybody else in Pakistan. And they're the descendants of Alexander the Great, blue-eyed people in Pakistan. You think, well, that's just a kind of a fluke here. No, the whole entire village of over 300 people were fair-skinned and blue-eyed people with really light colored hair. And yeah, so you can go like her. She found people. They fed her. They fed her dinner. They made her clothes, some beautiful clothes. Um, yeah, I would think everything I think about in Pakistan is dark and dismal. Things that I don't understand. Um, I'm not putting off the people of Pakistan, but I'm just saying it ain't one of those places I wake up and like, well, if I had a chance to travel, that's where I'd want to go. I don't think that'd be a place I'd want to go, but each to their own. Can you imagine a girl riding a motorcycle through Pakistan? But she's doing it. She's making bridges all around the world. No, if I had a huge amount of money, it'd be spent right here in America. It would be spending all the beautiful places we have here in America. Yeah, you find that too, Mike. People fleeing to get out from under the oppression of the various governments, and not only the government, even worse than government is the church itself. The the restrictive rules that is set down by man, not by God. The interpretation of man, their idea of what religion is, not God. And it really irritates me to hear people throwing off on God. No, it's the interpretation man has put, and they create these little entities that we all got to think alike and be alike, and otherwise we'll cut your hands off and pull your eyeballs out. That's bullshit, you know. But I can say that because I've got a lot of freedom, and a lot of those would like to say that, but they don't have that freedom. No, I was born with a God. It was in my heart and my soul, and it has no ties. I mean, it's a little bit different than a lot of people perceive their God. You know, I think it's the feeling of righteousness when you know the difference between right and wrong. There's people that don't know that. I mean, really don't have the comprehension of right and wrong. And you'll see a lot of that, and you see a lot of those people involved in shootings and stuff, you know, that just cannot tell the difference between right and wrong. Yeah, I don't even understand them. That unfortunately, you know, when we got into, I say after the Great War, World War II, and after Korea, and you've seen a lot of it in Vietnam, but people had these latchkey kids, you know, that the mom and daddy both worked, and the kids, you know, had to be by themselves. And you know, you got a young, creative mind. It's going to come up with, it's going to come up with all kinds of things to do. And you saw the family separations all through the '60s, '70s, '80s. Well, when the drug period of time come around, it was a whole entire different world. I've lived through all of those. I even started out in the '50s when we had the beatniks, and then they had the peaceniks. Peacenik, long hair that needed not to apply. You know, they back during the days when the long hair wasn't even allowed to get a job, and protesters of all sorts. But we went through the love generation, open sex, open marriages, all that kind of stuff. The sexual revolution. It happened during my time. We was there when back in the old days, Elvis Presley said he can't let, not Elvis, Ed Sullivan said you can't let that boy wiggle his hips on the stage. It'll make the kids sin, make them have lust. We don't want them kids to having no lust. Yeah. Look at us now. We're degenerates. So we like rock and roll music, and after rock and roll, we thought, man, we rule the world with rock and roll, and then come metal, and then come heavy metal, and then the rappers come all up in there. I'm a pseudo rapper, you know. Uh, all of us, I think we got a little rap in us, you know. If you're long winded and like to talk, you're going to be a rapper because in the old days, that's what talking. That's what we go. Oh man, he really he likes to rap, you know, talk, a lot of talk. And then they got people made a living selling rap, you know, talking music. We lived through all of that, and we ain't seen it all yet. You know, young people like Mike and all you young guys there, Robert, 2-4, you guys going to see so many more changes. I went to a electronic seminar in Orlando, Florida in 2011, and Bill Gates was one of the speakers, and he spoke for 4 hours, his crew did, about new battery technologies, and, he talked about if all the technology that we have garnered up to 2011 was an iceberg, all that knowledge, only the tip sticking up out of the water is all we have, but all that stuff down below, and he showed it in tears how in the future, how a truck body on a truck could be made of material that would absolutely receive vibrations from just the different vibrations that's in the air from all the electromagnetic flux lines and stuff from radio communications, cell phones, that the equipment would be able to interpret that as voltage and drive the truck and haul loads from the body that's absorbing the vibrations and stuff and all the stray RF and converting and being converted to electricity. He showed that how the new battery technology would already be here. However, lobbyists will not let Duracell die. The Energizer Bunny, he has a right to live, so the lobbyists won't let him go away. They they've got new technologies. You can see some of it's breaking through with lithium all the different lipo batteries and all the different types of those batteries are coming around and they're constantly working to improve upon them more and more. But the visionary people like Bill Gates and I believe the head of Apple was there, and we had 5 or 6 really noted speakers, and they talked about the future, and the future is beautiful as far as technology. If man don't use it for weaponizing the technology to hurt your fellow man, but to improve the everyday life. You remember we used to have a saying in the 50s, better living through chemistry. And then in the 60s, they made it a reality. They began in the 60s and 70s, they began to produce genetically modified food using DNA from halibut to make tomatoes grow better, potatoes grow better. But after many years of artificial, genetically material potatoes and wheat and rice and grain, all the stuff like that, they found that the the spores when the corn is tasseling, the wind would blow the spores and it would kill the indigenous grasses. So as we create one thing to make life better for all mankind, it's also destroyed segments of our natural resources. So these visionaries see things as going to be a lot better. And I think they see it in the form of the amount of money that can be made by these new inventions and stuff that's coming rather than because people's got inventive minds, don't even care anything about the money. They just got their mind is always exploring ways of making something bigger and better and all that kind of stuff. The entrepreneur, he has nothing but money on his mind. The Bill Gates of the world, they know how to make massive quantity of money from these things. So we'll just have to see how that goes. I won't be able to stick around to see all that, but you guys will. Um, yeah, they're going to be. Well, you go up there to North Carolina. Uh, what's the name of that place up there? Not Stanley. There's a place up there above um, where the old Dale Earnhardt, where he lived up there. They they have a train depot. They have a roundhouse, and in there, there's a 1910 or 1920 electric car, and it had for a battery glass jugs. It had the chemicals, and they had little tubes that would allow them to mix and all that kind of stuff to make voltage. And even way back, it was a beautiful coach, but the technology from glass jug batteries, man, have we ever come a long ways on Well, this new DJI camera I've got over here, it's got the latest technology and battery for an action camera, and I haven't been able. I've done a 1 hour and 1 hour and 47 minute video. I ran it 1 hour and 47 minutes. That's when we went down and did the Alabama Tail of the Dragon. 1 hour and 47 minute record time, and the battery never overheated. It just simply ran out of chip. There was no more. That was like 28 or 29 gigabytes. It was a long video. I don't remember what it was, but it was huge. But it never heated, never overheated once. My GoPro 11 in the summertime when it's in the 90s, when you shoot 4K video on it, 4K videos, um, in about 35 minutes, the battery would get hot and it would shut down. And that my GoPro, it might have been a weakness in mine, but if you pull the battery out, it would be so hot you couldn't touch it. But so I've been running the GoPro 11 just off the current off the bike. I just plug it in. I've got the USB connector there, and I just plug it in and run the thing. Be sure if you're going to do that, take your battery out of the camera because even charging it creates heat, and that could cause problems too. So take your battery out and run it without a battery. You got the media mod, you just plug it into the back, and it's pretty, it's sealed up. You don't have I wouldn't want to do that in the pouring down rain because even the media mod's not waterproof. Hey, sick. Well, I told you I would keep talking until you got back, buddy. Yeah, I saw a guy in India. He had an air car, and he had these two long cylinders under the bottom of the car that held 2,600 pounds of pressure each. I think it was 2,600. And that little air motor back there could run that little old car pretty damn good. And then they got to talking about the cost of refilling the air and how much they'd have to charge for the air. And it's all about profit, man. It's everything that affects our life is some kind of a profit margin associated with it. That's the way it's always going to be. There ain't nothing wrong with making profit, but you know, uh, I would like. Would it be something that scientists had us in mind? And no, it couldn't even happen if he even had a way of making a car running just on air, no water, no nothing, just air. It'd be either somebody would probably kill him, probably a hitman for one of the large car manufacturing companies. Um, There'd be a religious fanatic because God didn't intend for man to have an air running car. They would be, it'd be something. It ain't never going to filter down to us, all that easy living. Just about the time I'm about ready to get my chunk of this easy living, you hear the word echoing in the background. Shit. Uh, so my buddy wanted my smoke, not my smoke detector, but my buddy wanted my metal detector, and it was a good model. Oh, I found a lot of stuff here, a lot of Civil War stuff on my property here because there's a big battle just over here, Battle of Hog Mountain, just over there. And so he finally talked me into selling my metal detector to him. and he was an over the road driver. And I went down to see him 2 or 3 months after I sold it to him. He also had goats. We went down and buy goats from him. So we went down to pick up a load of goats, and I saw his metal detector sitting over there, and I said, "Did you whatever? What did you ever find?" He said, "I've never had it out." And so he went over and it had a big battery pack in it. It hadn't been charged. Well, it'd been a long time. I don't know how long it'd been from the time he bought it. I said, "Now you didn't think that thing would just go out and start looking for metal for treasures by itself, did you?" We teased him for quite a while over that metal detector. He never even took it out. Never had time in his life. It just sounded like a great idea. Save him Mac bucks, buddy. They're gonna rise again. Alabama is a beautiful place, Robert. It is really a beautiful place. I could be a spokesman for Alabama. I could tell you all the good places to go. But I travel all over the state. I was an over the road driver, and we had over 600 places of business here in Alabama that we had to service. Alabama, man. It ends with ER. Yes, Mike. It's Alabama. You notice that song? I'm going to Alabama with a banjo on my knee. Oh, Susiana. They always say Alabama. Roll Tide. I used to have a pretty good gang that we loved to watch. Let me tell you, I lived up there in the Northwest for many years, and we had football fanatics there, and all they believed in the Huskies. They was nobody. Warren Moon played for the Huskies there. I think it was Warren Moon. Yeah, yeah. He was a great quarterback. A really good quarterback. Um, oh, he was the hero of the Pacific Northwest. Well, Bear Bryant had to come and play out of conference up to the University of Washington there at the Husky Stadium in Seattle. The Seattle Times and the Seattle Examiner, that's the two major newspapers in the Seattle area, they said, this guy named Bear Bryant, he hasn't played any of the big teams. That's bullshit. He played Notre Dame, he played Oklahoma, you play Mississippi and Georgia and Florida. Them's hard playing teams, not no pussies. I mean, these guys are hard ball players. And so the newspaper said, that Bear's gonna get a lesson. See, he's got that little fast running back. He's got that little fast kitty like game. He runs around all over the field, and he's got all them little tricks where he throws the ball over here and throws the ball over there and pushes it over here. And but we play ball up here in the Northwest, and so this big old blowhard guy came over to my office and he said, "You're a big Bama fan." He said, "You want to put some money on this game?" And I go, "Yeah, hell yeah." Yeah, we put down some money. And to look at him having to have his head bowed down come Sunday when he had to come in Monday, actually, when he came into the office. Alabama beat Washington State 58 zit. 58 to nothing and made them look like fools. And it said on the headlines and the newspaper on a Sunday, they said the Alabama should be banned from football. They're barbaric. They're animals. They shouldn't be allowed to be on the field with civilized people. Alabama tore their asses up. 58 zit. I loved it, taking that boy's money from him and everything. Uh, and I don't even think Bear was having an exceptionally good year that year. All new team, and I won't tell you though. You got your little Oregon Ducks down there. They come to Alabama. They done put a hurt on Alabama. I go, oh hey, that's been a number of years ago, but just because they got them bright yellow suits on and all them weird little costumes on, don't mean they can't play ball. I think we had I think that time it was Saban was the coach when the Ducks come down and beat Alabama playing out of conference and whooped us bad. But I love I like the spirit of being a ham radio operator. We used to do color commentary on the air with our ham radios. All of us would gather around and we were watching the game. Well, I got this buddy down in down by Tuscaloosa. He had high speed internet and he was 4 seconds ahead of us. And they'd go up to the line of scrimmage and he went, "Oh no, no!" And he'd be calling all. I go, "We ain't even seen it happen yet, and this guy's already um, got hit 20 yards behind or whatever behind the line." And we finally told him, "Don't tell us nothing. We don't want to hear it." We know he was hearing it. So I was on Hughes satellite, and it takes 3 days for the signal to go up and back on that Hughes satellite. And he was on some kind of T1 connection or something, and he was so much faster than we was. Well, I spent 48 years talking on the radio. I've did some interesting things. I've done EME. EME is Earth, Moon, Earth. I had a really nice 90 something element antenna system that I could elevate up. And I used to like to work 35 degrees above the horizon, no more than that. If you're working 90 degrees above you, if you're working over your head, you've only got an umbrella effect about 150 miles of coverage. And but if you're taking, if you when the moon is coming up, and I'm living in the Northwest up in Washington, and you put about 35 degrees on your antenna on the elevation, when the moon reaches that elevation point, then when you bounce off the moon, it goes all over Africa and Europe, and you've got all these beautiful contacts uh, working off the moon, EME, Earth, Moon, Earth, and that's done in code. Um, we've also transmitted on single sideband on upper sideband, but we did that at much higher frequencies above 70 centimeters. Now, at 70 centimeters, you can operate it by voice and you don't get the Doppler effect. You don't get the distortion in the voice as much as if you're operating around 28 megahertz. You get a lot of distortion because the signal hits the moon, and when it comes back, your audio, your voice has to, the whole surface of the moon absorbs your initial transmission. The whole surface of the moon bounces a signal back from the surface of the moon back to Earth. The Earth is only like 6 degrees of arc, only 6 degrees of arc. So 50, 80, 94 degrees of arc, 94 degrees is just going out into space. Only that 6 degrees is that whole face of the earth absorbs that signal. So you're looking at several hundred dBs of loss in audio transmission. And then you have the Faraday effect, you know, the global shield around the earth that helps prevent so much radiation coming onto the earth. And that signal's got to come back through that. So you get a lot of distortion. And yeah, we did a lot of that. Then we got into FT8. I've talked all around the world on FT8. I've done EME on FT8. That is sending packet loads. The packet loads would consist of DE, this is N4DIR, this is N4DIR, this is N4DIR. And it sends us packet loads out. And then a signal somewhere is picked up once it strikes the moon and it lands over there. And one of my favorite ones I made is in Omar. It's on the east coast of Africa. And the reason it was such a good contact, there's only 3 operators in the whole country. The next favorite I worked was in Seychelles. That's 1,000 miles off the east coast of Africa, and it's a rich man's paradise. If you got money, that'd be the place to go. seashell. It's, I don't know, and I don't understand the government, structure, but it's a tax-friendly place for you to kinda shelter some of your money or whatever, but you gotta have a whole lot to be able to enjoy that kinda living. But I did work 2 operators in Seychelles through FTA. Oh, enough of that. That's just radio stuff. It was, Kerry was mentioning about his neighbor has a channel, and, we used to work all the Russian satellites, RS-17, RS-18, RS-19, RS-23. The Russian satellite systems, they would come over about every 45, 46 minutes. And so we'd hook on one, we'd have our antennas pointed up there, and you could work at a few degrees of arc, or if you like my system, I could rotate and elevate. So I would just put it in tracking mode and just let it track the satellite, and you get 6 minutes of talking time from the time the satellite came up over the horizon until it's gone. There's a 6 minute window. Now you can't see it for 6 minutes with the eye because it goes down below the horizon, but the signal still is coming back to you even though it's over the horizon. It's called refraction, where RF will refract. And yeah, I enjoy that part of doing that kind of stuff. I wouldn't mind having a glass of corn liquor. I I'm in the mood tonight for a glass of liquor. I I think the last good stuff I drank when I was up in my sister's house last November up in Seattle. We got shit faced. I ain't kidding you, buddy. We just got through driving over 3,000 miles to get up there. I mean, normally it only takes me a couple of days to get there. It took me 4 days to get there because we had to go all the way to El Paso. All the passes were closed in November, and I couldn't get across. I had to take the southern route. That was a long trip. So when we pulled into her place, we was yeah, sick. He remembers I thought I had Dave on up there. Dave was in Australia, and we had the old gang on there. I well, you gotta cut loose occasionally, you know? Um, but so far it hasn't killed me yet, and I do occasionally like to have well, only I never drank by myself. I just don't have uh, I don't crave it, but if somebody wants to have a drink, I got a big old Irish liver. My liver is huge. It's been filtering alcohol for now 85 years. Well, actually, I started drinking when I was 4 years of age. My mama used to make me a hot toddy for the body. She would pour whiskey and a cup of coffee, and we would drink that down when we had croup. You know, they call it croup when you was coughing, had a lot of phlegm in your lungs. She'd make you drink that whole cup down. She'd drink it down. I'd drink that whole cup of coffee down with that whiskey in it and sugar. Oh, hell, time we got up there to the bus stop, we was singing and having a good time. Oh, sick. That's got to be a horrible thing. I know a lot of people are. Um, there's been a many a person died from alcohol poisoning. That's not for everybody, and I would never suggest it to anybody. But I would not condemn you if you ever decided you wanted to have a drink. That's up to you, but not in your case. Well, I said I was going to end at 4, but it's already 5. I'm going to go to 5, and then we'll shut it down. But hey, because our numbers are starting to dwindle up there, and it's all I got a guy that's a bean counter. He watches all my numbers. He works at YouTube, and he's when my numbers start getting too low, he'll start pulling my subscribers and all that stuff. Yeah, we live in constant fear that my account's going to be attacked any day. I've got one of them what's called micro stations. It don't take much to kill it. Micro channel. So, I wanna thank each and every one of you that came to visit this afternoon. It's turned almost into evening. Um, I think I told you when I got back from the computer store, I had a big bait of corned beef and cabbage. Whoa, man, that was good. You guys find something in your life that makes you happy and just go for it. Just try to make the best out of your life. And if it's really good for you, it's like, sick, when you took a hit of some really good stuff. And the best thing you can do is you share it with your buddy. Oh man, that's as close to love as you're going to get, and that's the same way in life. If you can find some way to take the load off someone by your attitude and your carefree life, and you can put a smile on their face and help them through that little dismal place. All of us have been there. We've all hit that wall where looks pretty grim. You know of anybody that's at that verge of succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Help them through it. Any life is a bad thing to lose. God bless you, and thank you very much for spending this time. And well, I bid you all a good evening, and we'll catch most of you in the morning on the cough at the coffee crew. Talk is a good thing, if you can find somewhere that take them to a place where they're not as, dwelling in your misery. If you got somebody can help you pull you out of that, depression's got to be a horrible thing. Oh my God, I know of people that suffers immensely with depression. We were blessed. God was kind to us. Good night. Good evening. Go out there and love somebody. I love all of y'all.